John Cena was driving down a long stretch of highway in his black Jeep, the golden hues of the setting sun reflecting off the hood. The day had been long, and as he cruised along, he let out a deep breath, thinking about finally getting back home. The scenery around him was peaceful. Trees lining both sides of the road, and a calm breeze gently blowing through. It was quiet, serene, until he noticed the small gas station off to the side of the highway. Pulling in, Cena took in the simple sight: one pump, a dimly lit sign that flickers intermittently, and a small convenience store attached to it. The whole place seemed like it had been plucked straight out of an old movie, untouched by time. It felt cozy, quiet, and somewhat nostalgic. Just what Cena needed after a long day. He stepped out of his Jeep, stretching his arms and taking a moment to breathe in the fresh air. Nearby, a group of teenagers were hanging around near the gas pump. One of them, a boy with a buzz cut, suddenly froze mid-sip of his soda, his eyes growing wide with disbelief. "No way," he whispered to himself, slowly lowering the soda cup from his mouth. And then, just as if struck by lightning, he dropped the drink onto the pavement and sprinted toward Cena. "Are you John Cena?" he asked, his voice filled with awe and excitement. Cena turned and smiled, lifting a hand in greeting. "That's me, buddy," he said cheerfully. Within moments, a small crowd had formed around him. Teenagers and even a few adults, all pulling out their phones to snap pictures. Cena, always gracious and kind to his fans, began to sign autographs, shake hands, and pose for selfies. He took his time with each person, offering words of encouragement and making sure everyone got a piece of his time. Among the crowd was a young boy, no older than 7 or 8, clutching a homemade sign in his tiny hands. The sign read, "You're my champion," written in bright, bold letters. Cena crouched down to the boy's level, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "You made this for me?" he asked, his voice soft with appreciation. The boy nodded eagerly. "I watch all your matches. You're the best wrestler ever." Cena grinned and pulled the boy into a side hug for a quick photo. "Thanks, champ. You're the real MVP here. Never give up, okay?" The scene was heartwarming, people smiling, fans cheering, kids laughing. But not everyone seemed amused. At the edge of the gas station lot, a group of bikers sat watching the commotion unfold. They were clearly irritated by what they were seeing. These weren't just any bikers. They were members of the notorious Rattlesnake Riders, a notorious gang that prided themselves on intimidation and chaos. Their leader, Tom, was a tall, burly man with a snake tattoo curling around his neck. His face twisted into a sneer as he leaned back on his bike. "Look at this guy," Tom sneered, gesturing toward Cena. "Mr. Big Shot Wrestler out here signing autographs like he's some kind of hero?" Another biker chuckled. "All show and no go. Bet he couldn't hold his own in a real fight." Tom stood up, brushing dust off his leather jacket. "Let's go introduce ourselves," he said, his voice filled with mockery. "I'm dying to see if this John Cena is as tough as he pretends to be." The bikers sauntered over, boots crunching on the gravel beneath them. The atmosphere shifted instantly, fans started to sense the tension and began to disperse. But Cena stood his ground, calm and composed. Tom was the first to speak, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, if it isn't the champ himself out here playing superhero for the kids, huh?" Cena met his gaze, his tone even. "Just out here minding my own business. You guys should try it." The bikers all laughed, rough, mocking laughter that filled the air. Tom took a step closer, towering over Cena. "You think you're tough, don't you? All those fancy moves in the ring? Bet they wouldn't mean squat in a real fight." Cena didn't flinch. His posture remained relaxed, but his mind was alert. "I'm not looking for trouble. How about we just let it go?" But Tom wasn't interested in letting it go. "What's the matter, champ? Afraid? Or maybe you're just another Hollywood fake." Before Cena could respond, Jake stepped forward, his small frame trembling but determined. "John Cena isn't fake. He's the best wrestler in the world. Leave him alone." The bikers burst into cruel laughter. Tom sneered at Jake. "Looks like we've got a little sidekick here. Maybe we should teach you some manners, kid." Tom raised his hand as if to strike Jake, but in an instant, Cena moved between them. His eyes locked on Tom's and his voice was low but firm. "That's enough." The bikers paused for a moment, slightly taken aback by Cena's sudden action. Tom straightened his smirk but kept mocking. "Oh, we've got a tough guy here, huh? What are you gonna do, champ? Throw me into a turnbuckle?" The tension thickened. Fans watched in fearful silence. Cena didn't flinch. He placed a protective hand on Jake's shoulder and quietly said, "Go stand with your mom, champ. I've got this." Jake hesitated but obeyed, retreating to the safety of the crowd. Tom's smirk widened, his anger bubbling beneath the surface. You really want to do this? He asked, his voice rough. Cena responded calmly. I told you I'm not looking for trouble. Let's just walk away. But Tom wasn't backing down. No. Trouble found you, champ. Or maybe you're just too scared to show us what you've got. One of the bikers, a wiry man with a greasy bandana, stepped forward and jabbed a finger into Cena's chest. Come on, tough guy. Let's see some of those fake moves you pull on TV. The other bikers laughed, louder and more aggressive now. Cena glanced around, taking in their positions and calculating his options. This wasn't a wrestling ring with padded ropes and referees. This was real life, and these men weren't playing fair. But he knew one thing. He wouldn't let anyone get hurt, especially not Jake. Tom stepped closer, his smirk returning. Looks like your little sidekick over there still thinks you're some kind of hero. What do you say, Cena? Gonna let the kid down easy, or do we show him how the real world works? Cena's jaw tightened. Enough with the kid. This is between us. Tom wasn't done. Oh, so now it's between us, huh? He mocked, spreading his arms. All right, champ. Here's your shot. Show me what you've got. Before Cena could respond, another biker lunged forward, swinging a chain in a wild arc. Cena sidestepped effortlessly, his reflexes honed from years of training. He grabbed the chain mid-swing, yanked it free, and tossed it aside in one fluid motion. The biker stumbled back, surprised. The crowd gasped in shock. Jake's voice rang out loud and clear. Yeah, John. Show them who's boss. Tom's grin faltered for a split second, but he quickly covered it with a sneer. Looks like the champ wants to dance, Tom said. Let's give him a real welcome. The bikers surged forward, their jeers turning into war cries. Cena moved with precision, ducking a swing from a lead pipe and delivering a clean elbow strike to the attacker's jaw. Another biker came at him with a broken bottle, but Cena blocked the attack, twisting the man's arm and pushing him back. Despite their numbers, the bikers couldn't keep up with Cena. He moved efficiently, every strike, every block deliberate and powerful. One biker tried to grab Cena from behind, wrapping his arms around his torso. Cena shifted his weight, breaking the hold with a sharp elbow to the ribs before flipping the man over his shoulder in a move reminiscent of his wrestling days. The attacker hit the ground with a heavy thud, groaning in pain. But Tom wasn't finished. His face grew angrier and he pulled a knife from his jacket. The blade gleamed in the dim light as he stepped forward. All right, enough games, Tom growled. Let's see you handle this. The crowd gasped and Jake's mom pulled him closer, shielding him with her arms. Cena's eyes narrowed. His stance shifted as he prepared himself. You really want to do this? He asked, his voice low and steady. Tom didn't answer. He lunged forward, the knife aimed directly at Cena. Time seemed to slow as Cena sidestepped the attack, grabbed Tom's wrist and twisted it sharply. The knife clattered to the ground and Cena followed up with a quick strike to Tom's midsection, forcing him to stagger back. But Cena wasn't done. He stepped forward, his hand waving in front of Tom's face in a mocking gesture. You can't see me, Cena said, his voice carrying both confidence and warning. With one final decisive move, Cena lifted Tom off the ground with ease and slammed him down onto the gravel. The sound echoed loudly across the gas station, silencing the remaining bikers. Tom lay on the ground, groaning in pain, his bravado completely gone. The other bikers stood frozen, unsure what to do. One by one, they began to back away, muttering curses under their breath. Tom, still on the ground, glared up at Cena, but the fight had left him. Cena turned to the crowd, his gaze softening as he saw Jake, a little boy watching from a safe distance. The boy's face lit up with admiration and relief. Cena walked over to him and crouched down to his level. You okay, champ? He asked kindly. Jake nodded vigorously. You're amazing, Mr. Cena, he exclaimed. Cena smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. Thanks, buddy. But remember, being brave doesn't mean putting yourself in danger. You have to be smart too, okay? Jake nodded again, his eyes shining with admiration. As the dust settled and the bikers disappeared into the night, the gas station returned to a quiet calm. But the story wasn't over. The bikers hesitated, their confidence shaken by Cena's strength and calm. Their loud jeers and smirks had turned into silence. Some of them looked toward Tom, still groaning on the ground, waiting for him to give an order. But Tom wasn't ready to give up. He struggled to his feet, brushing the gravel off his leather jacket, wincing in pain, his eyes blazing with fury. You think this is over, Cena? Tom spat, his voice filled with anger. You have no idea who you're messing with? Cena stood his ground, calm but alert, scanning the group carefully. He wasn't looking for trouble, but he knew he couldn't let his guard down. Jake and the other bystanders watched anxiously from a safe distance, their eyes glued to the scene unfolding before them. Cena turned slightly toward them and spoke firmly, "Everyone stay back. This doesn't need to get any worse." But Tom wasn't backing down. With a sharp whistle, he signaled the remaining bikers to regroup. They circled Cena once again, their hesitation giving way to renewed aggression. One of them, a burly man with a scar down his cheek, stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "You're tough, I'll give you that," he growled. "But let's see how you handle all of us at once." The bikers closed in, moving together this time. One of them swung a heavy chain at Cena. But Cena ducked just in time, grabbed the chain mid-swing and yanked it away from the man. Using the momentum, Cena swung the chain back, hitting another biker across the legs, making him fall to the ground. The crowd gasped, cheering as Cena held his ground. Another biker charged at him with a lead pipe, aiming for his ribs. Cena sidestepped the attack and delivered a sharp elbow to the man's shoulder, making him drop the pipe. Then with a spinning kick, Cena knocked the attacker back. The bikers were starting to falter, their confidence crumbling, but their desperation made them reckless. Two more bikers came at Cena at the same time, one from the front, one from behind. Cena turned quickly, grabbing the first one by the arm and flipping him over his shoulder in a clean takedown. Then, as the second biker reached for him, Cena gave him a powerful backhand strike, making him stumble. It was chaotic, but Cena moved with precision, his training and instincts guiding every move. He wasn't just defending himself, he was sending a clear message. The crowd, including Jake, watched in awe as Cena skillfully took down his opponents. Jake's eyes were wide with admiration, and he couldn't help but shout, "That's right, John. Show them who's the champ." Tom, now visibly frustrated, barked orders at the remaining bikers. "Stop messing around. Take him down." One of the bikers, wiry and wild-eyed, pulled out a broken bottle and lunged at Cena, aiming for his torso. Cena grabbed his wrist mid-strike and twisted it sharply, making the bottle drop. Then, with a controlled move, Cena delivered a palm strike to the biker's chest, sending him stumbling back. The bikers were running out of steam. Their bravado faded as they realized they couldn't match Cena's skill. But Tom refused to admit defeat. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a knife, its blade gleaming under the harsh gas station lights. The crowd gasped and Jake's mother pulled him close, shielding him. "John, look out!" Jake shouted, his voice filled with fear. Cena's eyes locked onto the knife, his expression hardening. He took a step forward, his stance steady. "You don't want to do this," he warned, his voice calm but firm. Tom sneered and held the knife out in front of him. "Oh, I think I do," he said, his tone full of malice. "Let's see how tough you really are without cameras and fans to back you up." Tom lunged, the knife aimed directly at Cena's chest. Time seemed to slow. Cena sidestepped the attack, grabbed Tom's wrist and twisted it sharply. The knife clattered to the ground. Cena followed up with a swift strike to Tom's midsection, making him stagger back. But Cena wasn't done. He raised his hand in front of Tom's face, waving it dramatically. "You can't see me," Cena said, his voice carrying confidence and finality. The crowd erupted in cheers as Cena lifted Tom off the ground in a flawless attitude adjustment and slammed him onto the gravel with a loud thud. Tom lay motionless for a moment, his bravado completely gone. The remaining bikers froze, their eyes darting between Cena and their fallen leader. One by one, they started to back away, muttering curses under their breath as they climbed onto their bikes and sped off into the night. Cena turned to the crowd, his gaze softening as he spotted Jake. The boy broke free from his mother's arms and ran toward Cena, his face lit up with a mix of relief and admiration. "You did it, John. You showed them who's the boss," Jake exclaimed, throwing his arms around Cena. Cena knelt down to Jake's level, resting a hand on his shoulder. "Thanks, champ. But remember, being strong isn't just about winning fights. It's about knowing when to stand up for what's right." Jake nodded, his admiration for Cena growing. The gas station returned to a cautious calm as the danger passed, but the moment left a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. Cena stood, glancing around to make sure everyone was safe before turning back to his Jeep. The fight wasn't over yet. There was still a lesson to be learned, and Cena was ready to teach it. Tom groaned as he struggled to push himself off the gravel, his body aching from the force of Cena's attitude adjustment. His pride was shattered, but his fury burned stronger than ever. He wiped a streak of blood from his lip, his gaze dark and vengeful as he stared up at Cena, who stood firm, an immovable wall of determination. The remaining bikers hesitated, their confidence thoroughly shattered, but the humiliation of retreating kept them in place. They looked to Tom, waiting for his signal to either flee or fight. "You think you've won, Cena?" Tom spat, his voice strained but defiant. "This isn't over." Cena didn't flinch. His voice was calm but unyielding. "It's already over, Tom. You've lost. Don't make this worse for yourself, or for your guys. Walk away while you still can." But Tom wasn't ready to back down. He gestured to the few bikers still standing. "We're not done here. Get him," he barked. Two bikers stepped forward, their movements slower and less sure now. One picked up the chain Cena had dropped earlier, swinging it in wide arcs as he approached. The other grabbed a metal pipe from one of the bikes. Cena readied himself, his stance solid and composed. The man with the chain swung it aggressively, but Cena anticipated it, ducking low and stepping inside the swing. He grabbed the biker's wrist, twisting it sharply, making the chain fall from his grip. Then, with a swift motion, Cena shoved the man backward, sending him stumbling into the other attacker. The second biker quickly recovered, raising the pipe and swinging it in a wide arc. Cena sidestepped the attack and delivered a powerful kick to the man's midsection, knocking the wind out of him. The remaining onlookers gasped in shock, their fear fading into awe as Cena dismantled his attackers with ease. Jake, standing safely with his mother, couldn't contain his excitement. "That's right, John. Show them how it's done," he shouted, his voice full of belief in his hero. Tom, now visibly desperate, scrambled to his feet and reached for the knife lying on the ground. His fingers closed around the handle. As he raised his face, it twisted with anger. "You're going to pay for that," he growled, moving toward Cena with a strong step. Cena's eyes locked onto the knife, his expression calm. He took a careful step forward, his body showing a mix of being careful but also confident. "Put it down, Tom. You don't want to do this," Cena said firmly. But Tom didn't listen. With a loud roar, he lunged at Cena, the knife flashing under the gas station lights. Cena moved quickly, stepping to the side and grabbing Tom's wrist. With a sharp twist, Cena disarmed him, making the knife fall to the ground. Then Cena gave Tom a powerful palm strike to his chest, sending him staggering back. The crowd cheered loudly. Cena stepped forward, raising his hand in his signature gesture, waving it in front of Tom's face. "You can't see me," Cena said, his voice steady and confident. Tom's face twisted in anger, but before he could react, Cena easily hoisted him onto his shoulders. With a loud thud, Cena gave him a flawless attitude adjustment, slamming Tom onto the gravel. Tom lay motionless, groaning in pain, his earlier boldness gone. The other bikers, seeing Tom fall, froze. One by one they started backing away, climbing onto their bikes and speeding off into the night. The sound of their engines faded into the distance, leaving Tom alone on the ground, surrounded by the mess of what had just happened. Cena turned to the crowd. His face softened as he spotted Jake, a boy who had broken free from his mother's grasp. The boy ran toward Cena, his face glowing with admiration. "You did it, John. You showed them who's boss," Jake exclaimed, his voice filled with excitement. Cena knelt down to Jake's level and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thanks, champ. But remember, being strong doesn't mean looking for fights. It means standing up for what's right and protecting the people who need it." Jake nodded, his eyes bright with respect. "I'll remember that." As the dust settled and the gas station grew quiet again, Cena looked around to make sure everyone was safe. He walked over to Tom, who was still groaning on the ground. Cena crouched down next to him. "You brought this on yourself, Tom. Next time, think twice before you pick fights with people who aren't looking for trouble," Cena said calmly. Tom didn't respond. His pride was too hurt to answer. Cena stood and turned back to the crowd. His presence was reassuring, letting everyone know the danger had passed. But the moment had left an impact on everyone who saw it. As the sound of police sirens filled the air, Cena glanced toward Jake and the other onlookers. "Everyone okay?" Cena asked, his voice calm. The crowd nodded, their expressions a mix of relief and admiration. Jake's mother stepped forward, her voice shaking with gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Cena. You saved us all tonight." Cena gave a humble smile. "Just doing what anyone would do." The flashing red and blue lights of police cars soon arrived at the gas station. The officers stepped out, their boots crunching on the gravel. The tense energy in the air slowly began to fade, replaced by a sense of relief. Cena stood calmly, his arms crossed, watching the scene. Tom was quickly surrounded by officers. One officer knelt down to check on him before slapping handcuffs on him. An officer, a stocky man with a neatly trimmed mustache, approached Cena. His voice had a mix of disbelief and recognition. John Cena? Did you take down these guys all by yourself? Cena nodded calmly. They were harassing the folks here, especially the kid over there. I couldn't just stand by and let it happen. The officer looked over at Jake, who was standing next to his mother, both watching Cena with admiration. Well, it looks like you did a hell of a job, the officer said, looking at Tom. This guy's been causing trouble around here for years. We've been trying to catch him for a while. Now we have plenty of witnesses. As Tom was hauled to his feet by two officers, he winced in pain but managed to sneer at Cena. This isn't over, Cena. You think you're some kind of hero? You're just lucky. Cena didn't flinch. He stepped closer, his gaze steady and firm. You brought this on yourself, Tom. Heroes don't go looking for fights. They step up when people need them. Maybe you should think about that while you're sitting in a cell. Tom's sneer faltered, and he quickly looked away as the officers led him away. The crowd watching began to cheer loudly. Jake, his face bright with pride, broke free from his mother's grasp and ran up to Cena, throwing his arms around him in a tight hug. Thank you, John, he said, his voice filled with gratitude and admiration. You're the best. Cena knelt down to Jake's level, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder. You're the real champ here, Jake. It takes courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's scary. But remember, being brave doesn't mean putting yourself in danger. You've got to be smart too. Jake nodded, his eyes shining with determination. I'll remember, Mr. Cena. I promise. As the police began gathering statements and taking control of the scene, Cena took a moment to speak with Jake's mother. She thanked him, her voice shaking as she shared how scared she had been when the bikers targeted her son. Cena reassured her that she and Jake were safe now. He promised he would always stand up for those who couldn't defend themselves. The gas station, which had been chaotic just moments ago, now felt calm and safe. The officers worked quickly, taking names and gathering statements from witnesses. Many of the bystanders couldn't resist sneaking photos of Cena or thanking him personally for his bravery. Despite the attention, Cena stayed humble. He smiled politely, deflecting praise, and said that he had simply done what anyone should do. As the last police car prepared to leave with Tom in custody, Cena turned back to his Jeep, ready to head home. But before he could get in, Jake ran up to him once more. Wait. Jake called out, his voice urgent. Cena turned, his expression softening as he knelt down again. What's up, champ? Jake held out a piece of paper, quickly sketched during the commotion. It was a drawing, Cena standing tall, surrounded by the defeated bikers, with the words "My hero" written across the top. I made this for you, Jake said, his cheeks flushed with pride. To say thank you. Cena took the drawing, his smile widening as he looked it over. This is awesome, Jake. Thank you. I'm going to keep this somewhere special. Jake beamed. His mother, standing a few feet away, wiped a tear from her eye. Cena ruffled the boy's hair, stood up, and slipped the drawing into the pocket of his jacket. He waved goodbye to Jake and his mother, who both waved back enthusiastically as Cena climbed into his Jeep. As Cena drove away, the weight of the night began to lift. He knew he had made a difference, not just for Jake and his family but for everyone who had seen what happened at the gas station. He reminded them, and himself, that being a hero wasn't about fame or glory. It was about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard, and protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The road stretched out before him, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. Cena smiled to himself, Jake's excited voice echoing in his mind. He may have left the ring for the night, but the spirit of a champion would always live on in everything he did. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I'll see you in the next video.